This is not intended to be a hate video towards Cat's Eye or Vicha or any global group, certainly not the members of the groups. I think disliking groups and members is genuinely miserable work all around. We need to start engaging with media earnestly. I'm wishing these groups all the best. I think Cat's Eye specifically is in a pretty tough situation as it is as part of a collaboration with Geffen Records and being pretty much directly under the charge of Scooter Braun and Hybe America. Truly wish them the best. Hope they can enjoy their upcoming debut. The song I'm talking about in this video is titled Debut, but it's actually not their debut, it's just a pre-release. Wishing them all the best. This video is mainly about the people writing these songs and or the teams building these groups' identities. Yeah, okay, let's begin. I think one thing that English releases and the beginning of global girl groups out of K-pop has proven for sure is that a lot of K-pop fans wouldn't be listening to K-pop if we fully understood the lyrics and what the songs we listen to are actually talking about. English versions of K-pop songs, as well as some of the more recent releases from the new global groups, seem to be overlooked or dismissed for their quite cringy lyricism, and sometimes it doesn't even take the lyrics being necessarily cringy for the song to be discarded, but rather just a dated or hollow song meaning. It definitely makes me think about how much of my enjoyment of some K-pop songs hinges on me not actively being able to process what is being said in the moment. I unfortunately know what Got the Beats Step Back is about in general, but from lyric to lyric, I do appreciate not knowing what is being said, and I'd like to keep it that way. With that in mind though, this seems to be a problem for English in songs universally. Even in K-pop, there seems to be a heightened expectation for songwriting and lyricism from the perspective of English-speaking listeners. And the pitfalls for English songs about empowerment specifically are seemingly very susceptible to the corny and cringy allegations. I'm talking about the motivational, you or I can do anything and nobody can stop us kind of messaging. Cat's Eye's we ain't flexin', we do what we do, in my mind seems like the musings of an out-of-touch songwriter trying to tune into what the current lingo is among the kids. I think Dream Academy's preference for songs like Buttons and Wannabe informed us a lot about what direction Cat's Eye was going to go in musically, and their, quote, debut song, not debut song, but song that's called Debut is a pretty solid reflection of that. It sounds like your typical 2000s girl group song with a modern day twist, but I don't think it measures up by today's standards expressly for the reason of its lyrics. I don't need no 1, 2, 3 or bourgeoisie, I'll step in. Know just how to make a scene, just me, myself, my best friends. I like it, it's as simple as that. That's right, I like it, I keep coming back. I don't need nobody trying to tell me how to run it. Found myself some baddies, about to turn it to 100. They like it, it's as simple as that. That's right, they like it, they keep coming back. These lyrics are fine, typical, and honestly on average maybe a little more advanced than what you'd hear out of most K-pop songs today, but it being entirely in English and as it intends to market towards primarily non-K-pop listeners in the West is where it becomes a bit of a problem that I think is worth at the very least discussing. If not K-pop fans, who is the audience for a song like Debut? I feel like K-pop companies' social and or marketing teams should have been able to flag this problem from a mile away, given the borderline crucifixion of Soyeon for her English songwriting on songs like Tomboy. If English-speaking K-pop fans are willing to demonize a non-native English speaker for her songwriting skills, then I would imagine the expectations for a group of members who are mostly fluent in English are going to be heightened. I don't defend this type of criticism. As someone who studies linguistics, I do think all of this stems from a place of linguistic discrimination, even the criticism that native English speakers get, but I don't dwell on this. I think it's also completely fine and okay to have high expectations when it comes to songwriting. It's a musical preference, right? Some people approach music specifically for the purposes of good songwriting and lyrics, and if we look at the Western music market today, that is very much an observable expectation that people have. If Hybe Geffen is intending to market Cat's Eye towards the West, I think they need to reconcile with this in some way. Most of the English music and pop culture today doesn't really focus around this idea of flexing on the haters anymore, and if a song does discuss things like self-empowerment, it usually, almost always, cuts straight to the point and doesn't rely on language conventions, phrases, and terms adopted by pop culture to stand in place for what they actually mean. The closest thing I could think of right now in terms of this kind of back-off haters narrative type of song in English is You Should See Me in a Crowd by Billie Eilish, who was around 17 when the song was written and released. It's still technically a love song by nature, focusing on the power dynamic in a relationship, censorship, but can also be doubly interpreted as a back off haters, I'm the one in control here type of empowerment song. It doesn't really register as that though, because Billie and her brother Phineas write the song in a way that gets straight to the point. It's primarily the lyrics, but also the supportive production on this song that transforms its message into something valuable and capable of positive reception in the current day. There's a lot of differences between Debut and You Should See Me in a Crown. It's maybe not the best comparison, but the primary difference I want to point out for this discussion is the song's specificity. You Should See Me in a Crown is a song about empowerment, but outlines how that empowerment comes about specifically, which is important. The song is written to depict the narrator as an overbearing monarch who has control over everything. It's not crazy specific, but you're presented with an idea of why the song is titled what it is by the end of listening to it. Everybody is going to metaphorically bow down to the narrator. Cat's Eye's depiction of empowerment is a much more general intimidation tactic about warning anyone who wants to pull up on them. Again, we ain't flexin', we do what we do, wanna pull up on us, check in at the gate and come through. We can run it, no this ain't a debut. What does the title of the song mean? What is it that they do? I know this may sound kind of weird or silly to point out, but I really do think this is the biggest glaring issue with the song lyrically, as it intends to market towards Western audiences. It seems to signal that Cat's Eye isn't new to whatever this is, effectively a this isn't my first rodeo kind of song, but as far as what they're dealing with and or how they're dealing with it, we aren't given the answer. We don't know. And I think that's why it doesn't really work, at least in the sense that it's trying to appeal to a market and audience of English speakers who notoriously are very selective when it comes to lyricism. And now that I'm thinking about it, it does seem like most young artists out of the West today typically gain exposure and success because of their lyricism and or the production in the song and how that helps convey the song's overall message. I'm thinking about Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo in terms of lyrics supported by production, and artists like The Kid Laroi and Tate McRae in terms of production supported by the lyrics. Debut song credits feature some very well-renowned English songwriters who have worked on some of the biggest pop songs in the past couple of years and decades. Ryan Tedder is credited on the song, who has previously worked for Beyonce on songs like Halo and EXO. It's in this way, looking at the credits, that I feel like it's definitely not a lack of ability on behalf of the writers, and more so, maybe what the collaborators between Hive and Geffen Records have in mind with this group's identity. I imagine they obviously had earlier Western groups in mind with this song during the process of either shopping out for demos or requesting this song to be made specifically for Cat's Eye, and I think this is roughly where the problem lies. Debut suffers from stretching itself out to touch the past and present of the girl group industries, while also stretching out in another direction to draw influence from the K-pop idol industry. The problem here to me, or the main problem, is that I don't think an idol group is all that marketable in the West outside of existing K-pop fans. And I think if the song isn't able to stand by itself in terms of meaning, Cat's Eye doesn't really have anything to deliver to the Western marketplace. I don't want to get it misconstrued, the song is completely fine by itself, and notably, I think if it was in Korean, it probably would have been more well received among K-pop fans at the very least. It just doesn't seem like the Western marketplace has room to consider a song with a message like this. Again, even the observable majority of K-pop fans have a low tolerance for English songwriting nowadays. Debut gets disadvantaged over its lyrical content, but also the song's inherent message about running up on people who don't like them. I think the solution for groups like Cat's Eye and Vicha is to develop a heavier focus on lyricism and song meaning. With Vicha in mind in this discussion, I think their more recent song Only One is the example to lead by, but this isn't to say that global groups should drop empowerment messages in favor of love songs. I think love songs are going to have an easier time evading the cringy allegations by default of love songs being inherently cheesy in a lot of ways. I think that's why Only One can get away somewhat unscathed with lyrics like, "Picture me looking so cute like OMG." It's cheesy, but in a good way that makes sense. I think the song is well produced as it is intended to be a love song. That being said, I do think songs like YO Universe and Girls of the Year suffer in the same way that Debut does over parts of its lyrical content. I think empowerment songs are fine, but they just need to have better meaning and lyricism behind them in order to evade the cringy allegations. We in Flexin, we do what we do is not going to cut it, in my personal opinion. We need specificity, and that seems like what the Western music market is looking for in terms of song meaning. This is my analysis of what's going on and what the solution to these problems can be. Both groups' respective companies have access to some of the best songwriters in the industry, but also maybe put some of the songwriting responsibilities in the hands of the members themselves. Some of the most successful artists in the West today are writing their own songs, or at least have some kind of hand in the songwriting process. That's discuss what I think about this, a kind of problem I observe with global groups that seems to stem from the same problems people tend to have with English songwriting and K-pop in general. Thanks for watching this video. If you did, definitely let me know what you think about this, if you see it in a different way or have a better solution to this problem if you see it as a problem, and so on. Thanks again for watching this, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time.